This is going to look at floral ovary placement, and it says that flowers can have the ovary located in different spots depending on the type of flower, and we're going to look at three major types that we've got here. The first one is called Epigeneous, and with Epigeneous flowers, it says the flower floral parts are attached to or near the apex of the ovary. Since the flower sits on top of the ovary, we call that an inferior ovary. This is an Epigeneous flower. You can see the peduncle coming out, and at the end of it is a swollen receptacle, which is where the ovary is located. Then sitting on top of that, you have the petals and the stamens and the pistils. The ovary is located at the base here. The stamens are out here. The style is right there. So this is Epigeneous, an inferior ovary. This one here you can see on the location of the stamens and of the style, and this sits on the end of the ovary, so therefore the ovary is inferior, or we would call it epigeneous. We also have hypogenous, and the floral parts are borne on a receptacle that is beneath the ovary, so therefore the ovary is superior to the petals. When we look here, this is hypogenous. You can see the petals, they're a nice pink color. The sepals are down at the base of the petals. If we pull this apart and we cut the petals off, we can see where the anthers and the stamens are. And if we blow up the bottom part and increase the size of that, what we see is the style running down in between the sepals on top of the ovary, which is superior to where the petals are. So therefore this is a superior ovary, or it is called hypogenous. The third type we have says the perianth segments in the stamens arise from a hypanthium that is free from the ovary but extending above its base. We're talking about a superior ovary, but now we've got something called a perianth, which is going to be a little bit more complex, let's say. And in this particular case, we're going to look at this plant. This is a crepe myrtle. It is called a crepe myrtle because the flowers look like they have little curly areas in it where it looks like it has been creped. If we look at the flowers like this, we can see an inflorescence with a lot of bright showy flowers, and we're going to zoom in on this one flower. Now, there's a lot going on here, and you can see all the petals, and the petals are a nice purple color on the outside. Down at the base here, we can see what we're going to call the hypanthium, and the hypanthium is really a kind of thick tissue sort of area, and on it we can find the petals are attached, and we can find the various pistils in here, and you can see that this one has got quite a few of these, and they're scattered all the way out, and I'm not exactly sure that I got all of them, but we tried. They are quite prominent. Then we have the stamens, which are these little yellow-capped filaments, and that's where the pollen is going to be produced. Now, we're going to increase the size of the bottom part of this so that it fills up the entire screen. And what we can see again is the ovary is in the center of the flower, and the ovary is sitting on top of the hypanthium. We can also see in here where the petals are, and where the insertion of the petals is actually on top of the part of the hypanthium. So it's coming out of the hypanthium, so this is called a perigenous type flower. And there are many different flowers that do this, but it becomes quite interesting because you actually see where the petals come off, and they come off on top of this hypanthium, which is specific to create these petals. Now, if we turn it over and we look at it from beneath, what we see is we see the hypanthium down here, and we also see where the petal insertion is coming out, right where it was opening up. And so the flower bud was closed, it opened up, and the petals are right there on the top. So again, we are looking at what we would call a perigenous type flower. Therefore, we have flowers that are epigeneous, where the flower is located on top of the ovary, and we call that an inferior ovary. We have hypogenous, which is where the flowers are below the ovary, so we have a superior ovary. And we have perigenous, which is where we have the formation of this hypanthium, and the ovary sits on top of the hypanthium, and everything comes out of the hypanthium itself.